It is the year 2552. Planet Earth still exists, but overpopulation has forced many of her former residents to colonize other worlds. Faster-than-light travel is now a reality thanks to the Shore Fujikawa slipspace drive, and Earth's united government, the United Nations Space Command, UNSC, has put its full weight behind the colonization effort. Millions of humans now live on habitable worlds in other solar systems. A keystone of humanity's colonization efforts is the planet Reach, an interstellar naval yard that builds colony ships for civilians and warships for the UNSC's navy. Conveniently close to Earth, Reach is a hub of scientific and military activity. 32 years ago, in the year 2520, contact with the distant outer colony Harvest was lost. A battle group sent to investigate was almost completely destroyed, with only one badly damaged ship making it back to Reach. Its crew told of an unstoppable alien warship that had annihilated their forces and the colony below. This was humanity's first encounter with the Covenant. The Covenant is a highly segmented society consisting of several confederations of species. Led by the prophets Truth, Regret, and Mercy, the Covenant are united in their religious devotion to a prophecy they refer to as the Great Journey. The prophets declared humanity an affront to their gods, the Forerunners, and thus the Covenant warrior caste, led by the Elites, a race of highly skilled, honor-bound warriors, waged a holy war with gruesome diligence. After a series of crushing defeats and colony after colony being destroyed by the Covenant, UNSC Admiral Preston Cole established the Cole Protocol. Under no circumstances can a vessel inadvertently leave the Covenant to Earth. When forced to withdraw, a vessel must avoid all Earthbound vectors, even if that means making a slipspace jump without any navigational calculations. Vessels in danger of capture must self-destruct. On Reach, a highly classified pre-war program led by the brilliant but cold Dr. Catherine Halsey to create genetically augmented cyborg supersoldiers takes on newfound importance. Under the jurisdiction of the shadowy Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI, Dr. Halsey abducted 75 children, all age 6, to induct them into the Spartan 2 program. Indoctrinated and trained to be the best of the best, these children were eventually made to undergo cybernetic and genetic augmentation. Of the original 75, only 33 survived to become Spartan 2s, the most legendary warriors humanity would ever know. But at first, the Spartan 2s were deployed with only one intention: to crush a growing number of human insurrectionist forces in the outer colonies. Some Spartans would eliminate those who at one point they would have called family without even a second glance. But with the arrival of the Covenant, the Spartan 2s would be redeployed against the alien hordes, racking impressive victories in what once seemed like an unwinnable war. With growing victories, the Spartan 2s would earn a reputation as a symbol of hope for humanity. But ultimately, their numbers were not enough, and throughout the 30-year war, ONI would once again do the unthinkable and conscript child soldiers to fight against the Covenant. without the knowledge or oversight of Dr. Halsey, Oni commissioned the Spartan 3 program. Rather than indoctrinated abductees, orphans of families destroyed by the Covenant would be the subjects. Their pain, their anger, manipulated by Oni to fuel a lifelong hatred of the Covenant. Nowhere near as strong as the previous Spartan generation, Spartan 3s made up for their smaller stature, weaker augmentations, and overall inferior Mark 5B Mjolnir power armor with their immense numbers. With so many worlds destroyed by the Covenant, Oni had a wellspring of orphans to choose from, and by the 2550s, well over 300 Spartan 3s were in active service. But all of it seems to be in vain. Despite everything, by 2552, almost every human colony has been obliterated by the Covenant. And then, disaster. The unthinkable happens. On July 24th, 2552, Spartan 3 Squad Noble Team, with a Spartan 2 on loan from Dr. Halsey and a redeployed Oni assassin, make first contact with Covenant on Reach. The war for humanity's most vital colony begins. Hundreds of Spartan 3s are sent to the planet's defense, and all existing Spartan 2s, led by the greatest of their number, Master Chief Petty Officer John 117, are recalled to Reach for further augmentation. The plan? Board a Covenant vessel with the improved Spartan 2s and learn the location of the Covenant homeworld in a last-ditch attempt to end the war. This is Operation Red Flag. But 2 days before the operation begins, the Covenant finally overwhelm the last of Reach's defences and begin glassing the planet. Cortana, the highly advanced shipboard intelligence of the Pillar of Autumn and personal AI of the Master Chief, is notified that her creator, Dr. Halsey, has found an ancient relic beneath the surface of Reach that is neither human or Covenant in design. Dr. Halsey needs the AI to recover as much data from this construct before the Covenant destroy the colony. So Cortana creates a data fragment of herself and has it transported beneath the classified Oni research facility, Sword Base, where Dr. Halsey is conducting her research. As Reach is overwhelmed and Cortana's original Pillar of Autumn recovery team is lost, Noble Team is redeployed to Sword Base, and now under the command of Dr. Halsey, are instructed to get Cortana back to the Autumn. Noble Team would not survive this, their last mission. And once reunited with the Autumn's captain, Jacob Keyes, Cortana follows Cole Protocol and uses the incomplete data from the relic beneath Reach, which turns out to be a series of damaged coordinates, cross-referenced with some recovered Covenant symbols, and makes a blind jump into deep space. By this time, on August 30th, Reach has fallen. The planet, now little more than a globe of molten glass. But as the planet burns, one Covenant Supreme Commander, elite prodigy, Thel Vadam, notices the small Halcyon-class cruiser leaving orbit, and orders his cripple forces, the Fleet of Particular Justice, to take pursuit. His fleet, 341 strong at the beginning of the Reach campaign, now but 60 ships, tracks the Autumn's trajectory and jumps to their destination first, ready to capture and destroy, to finally learn the coordinates to Earth. But the Autumn won't go down without a fight. Captain Jacob Keyes, a respected and decorated officer, known for the legendary Keyes Loop and a long career of putting himself in the line of fire to protect others, may have an undermanned antique ship, a band of Marines now more survivors than soldiers, and a Covenant force able to destroy him in an instant, breathing down his neck. But the captain has one hidden advantage. Deep within the Autumn, hidden in the cryo bay, recovering from the failed Operation Red Flag and his newly acquired augmentations, Master Chief John 117, now the last Spartan, awakens. Transcript of transmission to the Office of Naval Intelligence from UNSC Pillar of Autumn Shipboard AI regarding Sierra 117 and the destruction of designation Halo. Sir, as the rich data bursts attached in this transmission make clear, we have been to hell and back. So I'll be brief. After Reach fell, I followed Cole Protocol and slipped the Pillar of Autumn, using astronomical symbols Sierra 117 captured from a Covenant vessel. I chose an exit vector that would place us in an uncharted system near a late-life gas giant, planet new classification threshold. To my considerable surprise, in orbit around that planet was an artificial ring construct 10,000 kilometers in diameter. Initially, I feared this to be a Covenant installation. It was not. But the enemy had tracked us and was lying in wait around the ring. Rather than risk capture, Captain Keyes ordered my upload into Sierra 117's neural network. Whilst we abandoned the ship, the captain managed to land the crippled Autumn on the ring's surface, saving the lives of many men and crew. The Covenant referred to the ring as Halo. It seems a prophecy about Halo's existence is central to our enemy's religion. Its discovery was cause for much celebratory chatter on the Covenant battlenet. During our initial operations on the surface of Halo, we encountered an artificial intelligence, designation 343 Guilty Spark. This AI claimed its primary purpose was tactical containment of a virulent parasitic life form called the Flood. Through a connection to Halo's deep data cores, I ascertained that the ring was built by an ancient race of beings, referred to by the Covenant as the Forerunners, as a weapon of last resort against the Flood. A sizable population of these parasitic organisms was stored inside the ring for study, and the Covenant, either by accident or design, released the Flood. Might I say, not their brightest moment. 343 Guilty Spark convinced Sierra 117 to initiate the ring's weapons systems and eliminate the Flood. The AI neglected to mention, however, that because the Flood consume and convert any suitable sentient life, the ring would make no distinction. In short, if Halo fired, it would destroy everything. Humans, Covenant, everything. Sierra 117 and I decided that our only choice was to destroy Halo, stop 343 Guilty Spark from completing his assigned task, and deny the Covenant a weapon of unfathomable power. We destroyed the Pillar of Autumn's fusion reactors, starting a chain reaction that utterly destroyed the ring. I'm sorry to report that Captain Jacob Keyes was lost to the flood. In spite of everything, our time on the ring was well spent. I have gathered a wealth of new information for our databases on Covenant weapons, technology, tactics, and society. Additionally, Sierra 117's proficient use of arms and the destruction of the ring resulted in a significant loss of enemy personnel and material. That being said, I fear that the Covenant will not take lightly to our obliteration of their holy relic. Having thus struck the hornet's nest, we are now heading home with all speed. It is October 20th, 2552. The Human Covenant War has waged for 32 years, and we are losing. The Covenant have burned our worlds, killed billions in their genocidal campaign. Earth is our last bastion, a carefully guarded secret, but not anymore. A Covenant carrier, commanded by the Prophet of Regret, has breached Earth's orbital defense grid and attacked the African megacity, New Mombasa. Initial reports confirm heavy civilian casualties. Now, military leaders of the UNSC have prepared their response. A ground assault led by the legendary Master Chief Sierra 117 will push the Covenant forces back until he breaks through to the carrier's gravelift, from which he will board, whilst a detachment of highly skilled orbital drop shock troopers board the ship from above and rendezvous with the Spartan, the forces joining to eliminate the Prophet of Regret. Office of Naval Intelligence classified transmission from Veronica Dare to UNSC Fleetcom. Make it quick, Captain. You're not the only bee buzzing in my hive today. Of course, sir. There's a Priority 1 asset still inside the city. We need to pull it out. Can you be more specific? Sending over my report with relevant imagery. Now I'll be damned. Either the Covenant is getting sloppy, or we're getting lucky. Let's hope it's a little of both. This intel didn't come from your shop? No, sir. From the city's public security cameras. Verification, human, single source. And it checks out. Municipal Engineer, New Mombasa Public Works Department. What's he doing in the basement of a Section 2 Alpha site? Damage control, apparently. He manages the Superintendent, the same machine that registered this seismic anomaly. So what do you need, Captain? An extraction team. ODSTs? Negative. Admiral would have my ass if he knew I was pulling boots off the ground. Sir, with respect, the clock is ticking. We have an at-risk Superintendent-class asset, packed with high-value data, and those troops are racked and ready to go. But Helljumpers? Don't you think this particular extraction requires a little more restraint? Sir, I can personally vouch for the capabilities of the gunnery sergeant of this unit personally. Buzz, buzz, Captain. One squad, sir. That's all I need. And I'll have the asset secured by sundown. Very well, Captain. Get it done. But just one more thing. Sir, the less your team knows about what they are really going in for, the better. Like you said, sir. Restraint. By daybreak on the 21st of October, an ODST squad under the command of Gunnery Sergeant Edward Buck exfiltrated the occupied city of New Mombasa. ONI operative Veronica Dare, who had redirected the squad from their original mission, began a retrieval operation to secure an escaped Covenant engineer who had absorbed New Mombasa's superintendent AI, Virgil, into its own neural network. Virgil was taken to Reach veteran and longtime friend of Sierra 117, Sergeant Major Avery Johnson, for debrief. By lunchtime of the 21st, the megacity of New Mombasa was completely destroyed, glassed by the Covenant, and then, curiously, where the city had once been was now a Covenant dig site. They were looking for something. And Virgil was able to tell what it was they were searching for. A Forerunner artifact, a massive construct, buried beneath the earth for millennia, and what a select few incorrectly assumed to be an installation called the Ark. Before the city was destroyed, New Mombasa would be hit by a massive slip space rupture at the heart of the city. A rupture so large it would leave a crater, a first step in the uncovering of the hidden Forerunner artifact. But before the carrier escaped via slipspace jump, Commander Miranda Keys, a testament to her father's memory, retrieved the Master Chief, broke rank, and pursued the carrier through the rupture. Her ship and crew hurtling through slipspace behind the carrier until eventually being spat out, powerless and drifting in uncharted space. And it was there that the daughter of Captain Jacob Keyes discovered Installation 05, another Halo ring. But where humanity discovered a new threat to life in the galaxy, the Covenant discovered a new relic. Soon enough, as Miranda Keys initiated a ground campaign led by Sierra 117 to assassinate the Prophet of Regret, a new Covenant contact arrived at Delta Halo. A contact that, if it had been successful, Operation Red Flag would have revealed. The Covenant homeworld, an immense flotilla, the holy city of high charity. On board, Prophet's truth, mercy, and a disgraced Thel Vadam for his failure to defend the first Halo ring, stripped of his name, rank, his skin branded, and forced to wear the ceremonial armour of the Arbiter, an elite custom as old as their species. The Arbiter would be sent on suicide missions to further the Covenant's goals, and eventually die in service for his failure. But as the Arbiter dealt with Covenant rebels led by an elite, the Prophet of Truth made other plans. On the surface of Delta Halo, the Prophet of Regret had been killed by Sierra 117, and this, combined with the Arbiter's failure at the first Halo ring and the newfound heretical elite rebellion, Truth disgraced the elite race and removed them from their former post as the head of the Covenant warrior caste, opting instead to replace them with the Brutes, a savage, simple, and obedient race. But the Arbiter and the elites would not stand for this insult. The conflict on and above Delta Halo ignites a galaxy-wide conflagration, as civil war, led by the Arbiter and Shipmaster Artas Vadam, creates a great schism. This rebellion, brought on by the Prophet of Truth's betrayal of the elites and a growing realization that, by way of the Great Journey, the prophets had been deliberately deceiving the Covenant populace. Firing the rings would not send the faithful to meet the Forerunners. Instead, it would eradicate all life in the galaxy. The rings, designed to combat the ancient, unknowable horrors of the Flood, would soon be primed as the Covenant unwittingly released the galaxy-devouring menace for the second time in 100,000 years. Though this time, it was not entirely their fault. Deep within the bowels of Delta Halo, an immense horror, the Gravemind, awaited release for thousands of years. Shortly after the original Halo event, wherein the Forerunners wiped out the Flood for the first time, specimens of the parasitic life form escaped from Delta Halo's cold storage research facility and began to consume all other sentient life on the rim. Once the Flood had created a critical mass of bodies and minds, the Gravemind was formed from the flesh. A hyper-intelligent central mind for the Flood, its hunger insatiable, its knowledge as ancient as the Forerunners themselves. Thanks to the Prophet of Truth's most loyal brute chieftain, Tartarus, Delta Halo was activated. But seconds before it eradicated all known life, Commander Miranda Keyes, with the help of Sergeant Major Avery Johnson and a newfound alliance with the elites, stops the ring's firing sequence in the last seconds before calamity. As a fail-safe protocol built into the Halo array, with the event of Delta Halo's unexpected shutdown, all remaining Halo installations were moved to standby status and awaited remote activation. Worse still, almost all human resistance on Earth had been crushed, and now the forces of the Prophet of Truth scour the slipspace crater that was once New Mombasa to find an installation referred to by 343 Guilty Spark as the Ark, a Forerunner installation with the power to remotely fire all remaining Halo rings. Above Delta Halo, the Gravemind, having taken over Commander Miranda Keyes' former ship, in amber clad, invades the Covenant holy city High Charity and rapidly devours the once sacred flotilla. On board, originally to kill the Prophet of Truth, the Master Chief and Cortana find themselves trapped in the bowels of High Charity as it is consumed by the Gravemind. The Gravemind's knowledge and power increasing tenfold with the consumption of the Covenant, Cortana decides that it is far too risky to allow the Gravemind access to slipspace-capable transport. She plans, with the Master Chief, to destroy In Amberclad's reactors, to wipe out High Charity and the Flood on board, just as they did on Installation 04. But with damage to In Amberclad's systems, Cortana decides it's far too risky to chance a remote detonation. Doing so could kill the man who she cares for above all others, John, the Master Chief. The Chief is forced, for the first time since Reach, to say goodbye to someone close to him. Boarding a Forerunner dreadnought scavenged by the Covenant, he promises Cortana he will return for her. But she knows that stopping Truth is a far higher priority. Cortana is left to the clutches of the Gravemind, where she must fight off a torture so cruel it escapes human comprehension. The Gravemind, sensing Cortana's plan, disables In Amberclad's reactors. Now she is alone, scared for the first time in her life, and now knows she has no way to stop the Flood. Her only hope is John. As the Master Chief hurtles earthward aboard Truth's Forerunner dreadnought, He may very well be humanity's last best hope against the Covenant, the Gravemind, and the primed Halo array. With Earth nearly destroyed, the last breath of humanity is near. The stakes have never been higher. It's time to finish the fight. Having saved the galaxy from annihilation, Commander Keyes, having returned to Earth, now leads a guerrilla resistance force of battered Marines and volunteer civilians against the Covenant. But it is a losing battle. With the Covenant fleet abandoning High Charity, all remaining Covenant forces followed the Prophet of Truth's dreadnought to Earth, and a combined Covenant fleet, larger than any in recorded UNSC history, lays waste to humanity. It's not until the Master Chief returns to Earth, hurtling through orbit, holding to little more than Forerunner debris, that hope is rekindled. With the return of the Master Chief, Commander Keyes initiates a plan of her own making, Operation Uppercut. Having convinced UNSC leadership to follow her lead, Commander Keyes has the Master Chief wage a ground assault on Covenant forces, fighting his way to the Mombasa crater dig site, in order to open up airspace for a skeleton fleet of the UNSC's last Mac-capable ships to destroy the now uncovered Forerunner installation. But despite their best efforts, the operation fails. The artifact is activated, and a huge slipspace portal opens above the ruins of New Mombasa. Catastrophes pile up, as finally, the Flood make their way to Earth. An infested carrier, carrying a Cortana fragment, crashes into the city of Void, and once the fragment is recovered, Artas Vadam, under the counsel of the Arbiter and against the pleas of Lord Hood, the last of the UNSC leadership, glasses the African continent. Men, women, and children, all to ensure the Flood does not consume humanity's last world. The Cortana fragment, little more than a message, reveals that the portal above New Mombasa leads to the Forerunner Ark installation, and that, in order to save the galaxy, the UNSC and their elite allies must follow truth through the portal. There, they can hopefully initiate Cortana's plan, a way to stop the Flood without firing the Halo array. During her time on High Charity, with access to all the Covenant records of Forerunner technology, Cortana figures out that the Ark, light years out of range of the Milky Way galaxy, acts as the master construct over the Halo installations. Thus, the Ark is programmed to, in the event of a ring's destruction, build a replacement installation to repair the array. Cortana's plan? Have the Gravemind use High Charity to follow the Covenant and humans to the Ark, where a replacement for the destroyed Installation 04 can be fired. Far out of range of the Milky Way, it would eradicate everything in range of the Ark, and nothing else. The plan goes ahead. With all of the Covenant's remaining forces now at the Ark, the UNSC and the elites go through the portal, leaving a small collection of troops to defend Earth. A short campaign is waged on the ancient installation, and in the end, Cortana's plan goes ahead. Stopping Truth from firing the Halo array, Master Chief, the Arbiter, Sergeant Johnson and Commander Keyes assault the last of his forces. The array is prevented from firing. The Arbiter gets his revenge, but in the battle, Commander Miranda Keyes dies in the line of duty. A Flood-infested High Charity, bent on saving itself from the firing of the Halo array, crash lands on the Ark, intent on helping to stop Truth's plans. But with Truth dead, the Gravemind begins to consume all life on the Ark. The remaining elites and UNSC forces evacuate the surface and return through the portal to Earth, leaving only Sergeant Johnson, the Arbiter, Master Chief, and one frigate, the Forward Unto Dawn, to invade the ruins of High Charity, rescue Cortana, and fire the replacement Halo. And though it ends with the noble death of Sergeant Johnson, the ring is fired, at point-blank range, eradicating the flood below, and destroying enough of the Ark to prevent it from ever being able to build another Halo. The Master Chief and the Arbiter make a last-ditch escape through the portal. But as they do, it closes, and the Forward Unto Dawn is split in half. One half, containing the Arbiter, returns to Earth. The half containing the Chief and Cortana is left adrift in deep space. Lost in the uncharted regions of the deep black, John, with no other option, makes his way to the still functional cryo bay of the ship. There, his story ends as it began, with humanity's greatest warrior in a cryotube. After 32 years of war, pain, blood, and sacrifice, he is finally able to rest. Cortana, his guardian, watching over him, the two of them, together again, knowing that, should she ever need him, he'll be there. Silence fills the ship, and for the first time in both their lives, Cortana and John find peace. All of the Covenant obliterated to the last grunt, the flood erased from the galaxy, and humanity safe. The fight has been finished.